Welcome to Augmented Teachings, where we will talk about the things that inspire us to think better, feel better, and in turn be better. I'll be your host, Todd Michael Jackson. I'm here with my co-host, Brandi Pagano. How are you doing, Brandi?
I am so happy to be here, Todd. This is our third show at Talk 960. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so excited about this show because really, you know, there's spirituality and God and all this stuff, and people have so many questions, and this show is really about answering those questions. And as an N.D.E researcher, I have a fundamental understanding of how things work that a lot of people just don't understand. And I mean, realistically, God never meant for instructions given in the energy of yesterday to be carried out forever. So our purpose on this show is to bring a new level of understanding and acceptance to society. We will teach how to overcome fear and judgment to bring forth a new level of enlightenment to humanity. We will answer questions that have long eluded us through love, compassion, and spiritual common sense. So these are the topics and the ideals that I want to present to this show right now on this episode is, if I could answer two questions that have long eluded society, would you be willing to listen to the show again in the future? And that's what I put down as a gauntlet to people listening right now. One is the first topic, and I can explain it with spiritual common sense, how homosexuality works. The second topic I'll carry in the second part of the show will be why children are born with terminal illnesses. There is a reason. It's not because people are asking, why? Where's God in this? Why does this happen? Now, those are two biggest questions I get as an N.D.E researcher. Why do these things happen?
Why does God allow this bad thing to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and those are hard topics to talk about.
They are. And the crazy thing is when people have a near-death experience, they have the same questions with them when they pass over to their side of the veil, and they bring those questions and ask them, and they always get the same responses. And these answers that I have are fundamental when you actually start doing the research yourself. Right? And so I will go down the first topic, and I will answer that as thoroughly as possible, because there's one N.D.E that I always lean on when I try to explain this. So a woman had passed, right? She passed over. She died in a car accident or momentarily, right? And she asked the question. I mean, one of the first things out of her mouth, right? Because she was religious, and she had a son that was homosexual. And she asked, why is my son gay? Right?
When she was like on the other side of the veil in
heaven. As soon as she passed over, almost the very first thing she said was, why is my son gay?
Because when she was hearing this human experience, she was in turmoil about it because she couldn't accept it. She couldn't understand it. And she thought that it was something not right. Right.
Because that's what we're led to believe. You know, religion is so fundamentally set in judgment that she lived in fear and judgment for her son's soul and well-being. Right. And she asked that right out to the angel that was, you know, that had gone to meet her.
To assist her through that transitional process.
Exactly. And the angel summed it up real quick and just said, the soul that's in your son now had been born a female 17 times in a row.
It incarnated
17 times in a row in a female body. And that soul still identified as being female.
Because it took those experiences of being female, all of those lifetimes. And it was ingrained in, I like to say, the tapestry of that soul. And so now, as we move from incarnation body to body, we are carrying that tapestry with us. That is our soul. So all those female attributes, were imprinted into that soul, and it came here with that same, it just so happened to incarnate in a male body. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And how that soul identifies as a female can vary. Sometimes the soul may identify sexually as a female, even though it's in a male body. Sometimes it may be to a different extent. It may be just that the soul likes to wear women's clothing, but is still heterosexual. Or might be likes to wear women's clothing and still likes women, you know, or men or whatever. How it identifies varies from soul to soul. And I think one of the things we have to realize is that on the first two episodes, we had talked about the purpose of life, right? The first, you have a purpose of life for your vessel, which is to create experiences, because God is the creator and we are the experiencer. And also we have a purpose of life for our soul, which is to work the puzzle of unconditional love, and we keep choosing to return until we do. Mm-hmm. That's why that soul had been here so many times and decided to make the transition from being in a female body over and over and over, just finally deciding to return as into a male body, but still identifying as a female.
Because that soul needed to learn those lessons or go through those experiences to have that deeper understanding as either a male or a female body. But that's why you talk about gender and sexuality, gender versus sexuality, how they're the same and how they're different, and what it is. And I know we've spoken about that on previous episodes, but we haven't here on Talk 960. So is that something that we could talk about now, our understanding of gender and sexuality and how they're different?
Yes. Well, I mean, with gender, sometimes you might just have certain attributes that you take with you. Say you're a female many times, and you come back as a male, and you have attributes that are feminine, and that's all they are. Maybe you have a certain characteristics that are feminine. You know, say you were a female, I don't know, 5 times. You may carry some of the characteristics of being a female with you when you become a male. All right. But say you're a female 10 times. 15 times, 20 times, you're going to have a higher likelihood of carrying more characteristics.
Right, because you've had that experience more, so it's more ingrained into your soul.
Right.
It's like imprinted into your soul.
Right. I've known men that have kind of a feminine way about them, but very heterosexual, happily married, right? Then I know some men that are very, brutish, but they're homosexual. You know, they're very alpha male, but they're homosexual. What you bring forth in this incarnation doesn't come from this incarnation. Your soul's been around so many times that it has gathered so much innate qualities that we don't create homosexuality. It is a preference that is learned through the soul's development, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime.
Wow!
But it works the opposite way too. If you're a male, many times. Like I've told people in the past, I said, I'm a lesbian in the making, because you can't develop your soul in one gender. You have to make the transition. I love women. I love women so much, the shape and the softness and the delicateness of them, right? If I do decide to come back as a female because I need to learn, I need to develop my soul as a female and learn different things, I will probably still like females and I'll probably be lesbian. Because I'm so enamored with the female form, and that's one of the things we have to realize is that when we make laws or pass judgments against homosexuals, we're actually doing that against future versions of ourselves, because we cannot develop our soul in just one gender. We have to make the transition. I may spend, 10, 15 times as a male, right? Come back as a female, right? Do that 10 or 15 times and then come back as a male and be gay. You know what I'm saying? It just, every time I make the transition, it'll take a lifetime or two for that soul to make the adjustment and feel comfortable in its own body. That's why you see so many sexual reassignment surgeries, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they don't feel comfortable. It may take a lifetime or two more for that soul to feel comfortable. So I think when people get an understanding of that this is a natural process and that these souls signed up to do this, to make this transition, knowing they'd be ostracized, right?
Yeah.
As a labor of love for God, because our true purpose is to develop our soul, and sometimes you have to make that transition. And it just takes a long time to develop a soul, and we're going to make those transitions many, many times.
So I'm curious, what was the rest of the story when this woman came back with that message? And she obviously didn't stay stuck in that transition of life and death. She came back into this physical vessel again as who she was, and she kind of, she came back to life, right?
Yes.
And she was able to share her story.
Yes.
Did she have a different understanding and a different relationship with her son? Was she more accepting, or did they talk about that when you learned that story?
Yes, she was very accepting after that moment.
Because she had the understanding. And so what we're doing here is we're talking about we didn't have that experience.
No.
We are sharing our understanding of this experience that somebody else had.
Right.
That's what you're doing. And I'm understanding it and I'm sharing about it that, I guess just from a deeper understanding.
Right. And that's what we're here for, really, is to get people to stop being so judgmental and harsh on each other for against other people that are different than them, look different, think different, feel different than them. And we want to help people realize we're all part of the same collective of source of God. Every single human is a manifestation of God.
Right.
So if you have poor judgmental ideologies towards certain demographics, then you're actually having that against God. Because every soul was put here and has a purpose. You may not agree with it, but they do.
And I like to think of it that, we're all here to do what is ours to do. And we're all here to play the parts and roles for our soul's development. And we don't know what is someone else's to do.
Right.
We don't know why their soul has incarnated the way that it has. We don't know the lessons that it signed up to, to go through. And so that's why living a life of non-judgment as much as possible, that's what's going to help us develop truly. Right. And that's what's going to help us to work that puzzle of unconditional love by knowing that we are each here to do what is ours to do. And I remember my dad growing up, he'd say to each their own.
Right.
And I'm so grateful that we get to have these conversations and we get to talk about this, because not only is this helping my mind and really helping to confirm some things that I intuitively already feel, it's helping our listeners. It's helping our supporters. And that is why I choose to do this whole experience here at Talk 960 and also on our YouTube channel, you know, and our live talks that we get to do. And thank you. If you're listening, to Talk 960 or you're listening to on Spotify or on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. And
yeah, I think it's going to work out because so many people want to know. They're tired of hating and they're trying to find other outlets to have an understanding, accepting God, and working themselves past the judgment of the church, And unfortunately, the old energy was judgment and fear, but now we're learning love and acceptance. And welcome to Augmented Teachings.
Well, thank you, Todd, for explaining that and breaking that down. That was so beautiful. We are going to take a short break with a message from our sponsor. Thank you for listening to Augmented Teachings on Talk 960. This show is sponsored by the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living in Apple Valley. On April 22nd, 2023, join us for Earth Day for our Healthy Spirit Fair. If you're interested in looking for connections to help you develop in body, mind, and spirit, please join us on April 22nd, 2023. For our free Healthy Spirit Fair. It's open to everyone, free parking, free admission. There's going to be vendors talking about all different products and services, catering to the body, the mind, and the spirit. There's going to be free demos and also speakers. So check us out on Facebook and YouTube at the High Desert Center for Spiritual Living. Welcome back to Augmented Teachings on Talk 960. I'm Brandi Pagano.
And I'm Todd Michael Jackson. Welcome back, everybody. So excited. So this next topic that we're going to talk about is the question I get the most by far, head and shoulders above everything else. Why are children born with terminal illnesses?
Oh, that's a hard one.
That's a tough one, right? And that's the big challenge question. Okay, I always tell people, God is everywhere, God is everything, and they always bring that question.
And they say, well, where is God?
Where's God in this situation?
Right.
All right. So, as I've explained in the past, the main purpose of life is to work the puzzle of unconditional love. And we keep returning until we do, right?
Right.
And we spend a lot of time in heaven planning out our lives, all right? We come here to learn this, that, and the other. But unbeknownst to us, we're not solely by ourselves. We have something called soul groups or soul tribes.
Right, soul families.
Soul families, right? We're groups of souls that are kind of together in their development, right? Are working together to bring forth development within each other.
Right. And we sign up for those experiences to assist in that soul family's development, right?
Right, correct. And back home on the other side of the veil, in heaven, right, where we're from, there's no fear. Fear does not exist. Fear, judgment, hate doesn't exist. So a soul will have no problem choosing to take a challenge life.
Right.
A life with extra challenge to develop the souls around it. Teaching to assist and helping other souls develop their compassion, their empathy, their servitude, their responsibility, making sure that they get what they need, right? Also, and we work together. By the time a soul is done with its journey, it may have given several challenge lifetimes to help the group in its entirety.
Right.
And then sometimes it's another soul within that group is going to take that challenge life. And another person in that group is going to take a challenge life. We do this all the time because we're altruistic. Altruism is when you put the needs of others equal or above your own.
Beautiful.
And we have no problem giving up a lifetime or 2 or 3 to help the group grow in its entirety.
From a spiritual standpoint, from a soul level, right?
From a soul level.
But from a more human fundamental level, that's where that judgment and that ego and that fear comes into play.
Right.
As sometimes people, from a human aspect, they think of, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to help with that.
Right.
I don't want to be involved in that because X, Y, Z. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be a
Yes.
challenge or whatever those things are.
Yes,
But
every soul knows they're going to return back home.
Right. If you already know what's going to happen at the end of the
right,
book, right? It's
Exactly.
like, then you're going to go through that experience so much easier because
Right.
hey, everything's going to work out in the end. I think it was John Lennon. He said, everything works out in the end. And if it hasn't worked out, then it's not the end. Right?
That's right. That's right.
It's one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, and we're so altruistic. We're always helping each other, trying to do what's best to help ourselves develop, because our love for God is undying. It's forever. And God is forever. That ocean of benevolent vibration or energy is forever. And we know once we're in these bodies, we're working, we're learning, and we're developing and bringing back experiences. That's our job, right? And then as soon as we leave these bodies, we're back in that ocean. We're back in that ocean of benevolence, of love and compassion. So giving up that life, of taking that extra challenge, and sometimes it's painful. But back home, we have no fear. We know the end result is always the same. We're back in God's love and grace.
That is so beautiful, the way that you explain that. And from my basic thinking over here, I like to think of life as a play. And we're all playing the parts and playing the roles and playing the characters. So it's like this soul of this child, signed up to play that part. And in that play, it came here with a terminal disease, cancer or something, and it signed up to die. Right?
Basically.
And that soul knows that that's not a life-threatening situation because life is not bound only by this physical experience.
Right.
Life is actually I think of God and life as the same thing.
Right.
It's like life is energy and it is forever expanding. You know how they say like the universe keeps expanding and it's just it goes on forever and ever. There's no end to it. There's no end to life. There's no end to the life cycle of the soul.
Right. Yeah.
And
this is just a classroom.
Right.
And what you're going to do in this classroom isn't permanent.
Exactly.
The development is permanent. But the suffering and the sacrifice is not.
Right. What you go through during that experience, how you develop, that's what you take back with you. You don't take the money. You don't take the fear. You don't take the judgment.
Right.
You may take how you learned through that experience back with you. You take that wisdom, that knowledge, back to, source. And then you get to kind of recalibrate and take inventory. And it's like, okay, I got through these. I understood this. What else is there left for me to learn as a soul? Okay, X, Y, Z, that I'm going to sign up for an experience that's going to bring me that opportunity to grow through that. And when we can really understand that, it takes the pressure off. And it really helps me. I'll speak for myself because I can't speak for anybody else listening, but it's speaking for myself. It helps to take that pressure off of judgment and misunderstanding.
Right.
And it brings me back to a state of unity and compassion and love and also gratitude.
Gratitude.
So when anybody I feel has, will say wronged me or really, I don't like to think that I'm a victim because I have that understanding that I signed up for this.
Right.
This person signed up to play this role and I signed up to play this role.
All learning. It's all learning.
Right. On both sides, because the one that is kind of the one, the perpetrator or the aggressor or whatever, I don't know, they also signed up to have that experience because they needed to know what it was like. That soul needs to learn that part of it, the whole yin yang, it's all balance.
Right.
So life always finds a way to balance it out.
Right. And that's one of the concepts that's hard to understand is that we are our souls. We are not our vessels.
No, right, exactly.
Right. I mean,
we are
some
not
people
our bodies.
will identify as a white heterosexual Christian male. White heterosexual Christian male. But you are none of those things.
No.
You are your soul.
Right.
You just happen to be a white heterosexual Christian male this lifetime.
Right.
You will not stay that way forever.
That's not who you are.
That's not who you are. You will move around to different ethnicities and different gender and different religions as you work your way through.
And like we were talking about, on the previous segment here about homosexuality and gender and sexuality in general. And there are some souls that incarnate here and they identify as being pansexual.
Yes.
Meaning they're not attracted to the gender of a person. They're not bisexual. Bisexual to me is that they are attracted to male and female bodies. A pansexual, in my understanding, that's a word I've just learned a couple years ago. So, I'm still kind of, learning exactly what that means. But the way I understand it is that they are attracted to the soul. They are attracted to the person. They are attracted to the personality, the just who they are in general, regardless of what body parts they have. And that's why pansexual, they say hearts, not parts. Is who are you?
Right. And that's one of the things, leapfrogging from what we had talked about in the first segment with homosexuality, right? And one of the things that we are going to start realizing, I already realized, but our audience will start realizing, is that younger souls will very much identify with their vessel. That's who they are, and there's no changing that.
Right.
I am this. The older the soul, the more times the soul is here, the more they kind of overcome their vessel. And the vessel is just a vehicle. It's not who they are. It's not, they don't identify with their vessel. And that's when you start finding people that are pansexual. They don't identify with either gender. They don't identify with their own gender, being anything male or female. It's literally the vibration of the person that they're next to. The soul that they're bonding with is what's important. And how they take care and love that other soul is what's important, not the parts that are involved, because they've already developed their soul so many times, been here so many times. They've been a woman 50 times and a man 50 times, and they're like they're over male and female ideologies. They're really now focused on the soul within
and that connection.
And the older our society is and humanity gets, right? This human form, is very young in the terms of age of the universe.
Right.
As we develop,
and evolve
generationally over and over and over, you're going to have more people that identify with pansexualism because the souls are just getting older and they're overcoming the whole idea of male and female.
Right. And actually people talk about, different beings on different planets. And, that's not what this show is about. But some people take that idea of other beings and they talk about that they don't even have a gender, that some of these beings don't even have a gender. They are not male. They are not female. They are just a spirit. They are just a soul in some kind of vessel, right?
They're vehicles for learning.
Exactly.
Vehicles for experiencing. That's what these bodies are. And as we learn that, we start to overcome, like you said, fear and judgment. And we realize we all have a purpose, and we all have different strides in our walk. When we walk, and we walk the walk of love here on earth as we try to learn. And I think one of the things that we really have to focus on is when we learn to walk that walk of love, that the whole world changes, and you start getting the vibration of God and the understanding of love and compassion. And when you do that, your whole world is benefiting because your world's benefiting, but everybody in your world that surrounds you is benefiting at the same time.
Absolutely. And it all starts with the individual. Mm-hmm. I was having a conversation this morning and I was talking about how our thoughts create our reality, because our thoughts create our emotions, and our emotions then create our actions, and our actions create our state of being. And so if I'm walking the walk of love and I'm focusing and I'm thinking about love in my mind, love in my heart, and I'm seeing things that are lovely on this walk of life, then what am I emitting? What am I broadcasting? I'm broadcasting love. I'm putting out that frequency of love, and then everything around me is going to be able to vibrate and match that frequency of love if that is also in alignment with love. If it's not in alignment with love, then there's going to be some conflict, right? But the more we can all focus on love, the better humanity as a whole will become.
Right. And when you give this emulation of love and compassion, people will respond to that.
Right.
Some that are there already, will respond to it positively, and then some people are not near there, so they will respond negatively and actually might even rebel against that.
And that's because the age of the soul. It's just, it doesn't matter if in that human form they're 50, if they're 10, if they're 80, it doesn't matter. It's the developmental age of the soul.
Right. You might have a child with a soul that's been here 50 times.
Exactly.
And a man that's 50 his soul's only been here 10 times.
Exactly.
So age of soul is what matters the most.
Wow, Todd, we've talked about a lot of great things today. And if you're just tuning in, we are Augmented Teachings. I'm Brandi, and this is Todd. And we are here on Talk 960. And you can find us on Facebook at Augmented Teachings, YouTube, Augmented Teachings. And if you want to connect with us, you can email us, again, augmentedteachings@gmail.com, all lowercase, all one word. And tell your friends about us. They can hear us every Saturday at 9 a.m. and every Sunday at 7:30 a.m. right here on Talk 960. And I am so excited because this show serves so many in their journey of discovery and spiritual development. So thank you so much for joining us.
Always have love and laughter in your heart and keep moving forward. Thank you very much.